going to tell you something that most people in my business will probably not say out loud, and it's that affording a home in Guelph or Halton or even really the Greater Toronto area is not really a rate problem. I think it's a math problem, and you're probably running the wrong math, because I've seen people sit down at a kitchen table, much like the one that I'm at right now, and you've probably scrolled and looked at homes that you'd like, looked at homes that the bank says that you qualify for, and somewhere inside there's a voice that says, no, maybe not us, maybe not right now, it probably won't work out. And I've watched this happen over and over again to couples, especially couples that have two good incomes and solid employment, and gainfully employed. And they're careful people, but they talk themselves out of the home instead of actually running the real numbers. So enough of that. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to walk through the actual math, like the real math, and perhaps what it actually takes to make a home affordable again in this region in 2026. And there is a lever that makes the home more affordable than any rate change could right now. I want you to stay right to the end because we're going to touch on it, and maybe it's not for everybody, but it is for somebody. Just so you know who you're talking to, in case we've never met, my name is Varsha, and I assist families in Halton, the Greater Toronto Area, Milton, Oakville, make thoughtful decisions in changing real estate markets, and especially going through transitional times. So what do I mean by transitional times? If it's a new job, a new baby, perhaps it's even a loss in the family, relocation, and sometimes it's even separation. Back to the math. See, as of this summer in the city of Guelph, the average price for a home is sitting in the high $700,000 to almost $800,000. The average price for a home in the town of Milton is sitting roughly in the high $900,000. If we expand the scope and go over to Burlington, say, for instance, that number is sitting in the low $1 millions. And those are averages. Okay, I want you to remember that. That is the average. And that is where math number one goes wrong. See, because I know when you hear those numbers, and those are large numbers, instantly it's like, oh, it's out of my reach. And sometimes it can be. You're right. But most people see the average number for a city and they take that to be the number for all of this city. The average is a midpoint. Half the homes that sold actually sold under that amount too. In fact, there are townhomes or semi-detached homes in all of these cities that actually fell under that average. And those are real doors for you to go through if you're especially a first-time home buyer or even a move-up buyer. Those are real entry points for you. Which brings me to my 3 doors. These are 3 entry points, and affordability is not one door that you walk through. It's actually 3, at least I think it's 3 for the sake of this video. And door number 1 is your down payment. A lot of couples that I work with actually come to me and say, hey, we need 20% down, right, to buy a home. And while that may have been true at one point, it's not the case, especially, of course, there's incentives if you're a first-time home buyer, and there are incentives if you're actually buying a home that's not over $1 million, and they changed that to 1.5. But before I go there and sound super confusing, let's break it down. So door number 1, the down payment. And here's where some couples really psych themselves out because they're holding on to this notion that you need 20% down. That's not true. Here in Ontario, the minimum is 5% for the first $500,000 and 10% on the part above it. So let's say for an $800,000 home, you're looking at 5% for the first $500,000 and 10% for the remainder of the $300,000. So that's not a whole 20% of your purchase price. Now, does putting down less result in mortgage insurance? I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't. It does. And there is a cost associated with that. But this is the thing that gets you in the door and into home ownership so you can start building that equity. And that 2 years earlier than saving up for that 20% ever could. So sometimes the question is not like, can I save the 20%? Sometimes it's which path gets me into a home sooner? And those are different questions with different answers. That brings us to door number 2, which is qualifying. Okay, you do not get approved for the rate that you are quoted. And this kind of surprises a lot of people, but let me break this down. You get approved for a tougher, a made up number. I mean, like made up. See, the government requires the bank to test you at a different rate than the one that you've qualified for. Right now, a decent 5-year fixed is sitting around, say, 4%. The bank, because of the government, is going to run that 4%, they're going to add to and make it 6%. And they do that so that there's safeguards as to what happens should things change in the economic climate, right? It is. They're safeguarding themselves to make sure that you don't lose the home. They're also safeguarding themselves That is a different discussion for a different day, but you are qualified at a tougher rate to make sure that you can actually hold the home, that you can qualify to own the home should some other factors change. Because there are factors outside of our control. And once you understand how you're being measured for that qualification, you can start playing and planning around it. It doesn't feel so random anymore. And that brings us to door number 3, which is carrying. And this is the one that I really don't see a lot of people focusing enough attention to, and that is your real carrying cost. Okay, your mortgage payment is one thing, but what about the rest of it? There's property taxes, there's water, heat, there's utilities that you have to factor in, not to mention just the maintenance cost of home ownership. This is the door that decides whether a home feels like it's supporting your life or whether it feels like a trap. You know, like when they say, are you house poor? You're gonna have to factor in carrying costs to really see if this is some sort of change that you actually want to take on. And a lot of people think about this last, but I'm going to encourage you to put it right up there with your qualification, with your affordability. This is right up there. This is part of that math. And this is where I usually ask my buyers, hey, do you know what your real number is? Your monthly payment. I mean, beyond the mortgage payment. Okay, what is that real number that you can carry with confidence every single month? And then you can go shop with confidence because you have a full picture. Okay, now this is the lever I promised you. It's amortization. How long can you stretch the loan? Simply put, that's what amortization means. For a long time in this country, if you wanted mortgage insurance, you were capped at 25 years. Recently, that changed to allow for first-time home buyers or even those looking to invest in new builds. They have changed that to a 30-year amortization. And it is that one change, the 5 extra years, that is going to significantly impact what you pay per month on your mortgage. It can lower what you owe each month and also kind of lift what your affordability looks like. But I am going to throw caution to the wind, as I do here. A longer amortization also means that you pay more interest over the life of the loan. That is a real trade. But for a young family looking to get into Milton or Guelph before prices move again, it is a real option to consider. I have seen people take advantage of this. And sometimes it's worth more than what is put on paper. And that becomes a values discussion, and that's really a deeper discussion that you would need to be involved with to see if this is the right fit for you. Sometimes it's just beyond what's on paper. And there's kind of a bonus lever here. Let's just go one more layer deeper. It's geography. Okay, location, 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 right? We hear that. If you're watching this in the city of Guelph or in Halton Region, then you feel this already. A townhome in Guelph and a detached in Oakville are not in the same universe in terms of price at all. When you widen the map by even 20, 30 minutes, your same income offers a completely different life. There's an exercise that I do with couples when we meet, and I give them a map because I really want them to show me areas that they would consider. And, you know, a lot of the times you think you're priced out of one area, but then your brain thinks you're priced out of everything. But that's really not true. You're just priced out of a tiny little micro market. But once you expand your scope, you're able to afford that much more, or even just have an entry point, an entry door into the market, right? Yes, there are factors to consider there. If you're ready to find out how much house your income can actually afford you, make sure you watch the next video.